Boom, baby, we are live. Welcome to Tokyo Crypto Show, episode 112. We're coming to you live on Twitch, D Live, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, we got it. We're here bringing it to you. And today we're having bull versus bear debate. I am going to be the bear, and I am leading the bear way with the number one way normies go through their days. Emotional arguments. It's going to be the backbone of me today. I am feeling sick to my stomach looking at T-shares. I want to vomit. I want to die. I'm going to kill myself. Jesus fucking Christ. I almost want Russia to invade me. And
just don't ask Putin to do it.
Oh, he's going to do it.
Hopefully it lubes up first, at least.
Oh my God. I feel sick to my stomach, Charlie. Charlie, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic.
I want to vomit, Charlie.
It'll be an interesting mix here today.
I want to vomit and run away. So yeah, we're going to talk about what's going on. The market is just in complete turmoil, quite frankly. How do I know? Viewership is at 86 total live viewers right now.
That is true. The normies are not paying attention when they should be.
Not paying attention. And gotta say, it's not sexy to be involved in crypto right now. It's smart, but it's not sexy. Charlie, I got some breaking news for you. I have started my way through the sovereign individual, and it has really. Let me see, how many hours am I in? I'm only an hour and 40 minutes in.
Okay, but so you're just getting going.
I'm listening on 1.7 speed, and I have 10 and a half hours left. But they are making some pretty seriously concrete points, because I think the world is watching now that government incompetence is just being broadcasted nonstop.
Yep.
Anytime I turn on the my version of the news, the social media, and reading about what's going on, I'm just like, these people are all fucking idiots. They're morons.
Well, yeah, and the media itself is, sensationalized to the level of tabloids, because with all the clicks and views that they need to get on the internet, they need to be sensational. I think there's, a lot of the times when I've been reading news articles, I'm like, where the hell did journalism go? Because I took a journalism class in high school, right? And they taught you then, check your sources, all that stuff, looked at what are the names of the guys who did the Watergate scandal investigation from the Washington Post, right? It showed how, they had to be impartial, go get actual sources, right? All that stuff, so much so that, by trying to confirm all that information, they risked their lives and shit like that. And where did the real journalists go? Now you have these people that are just like keyboard warriors type of the most ridiculous BS, basically propaganda. Crazy.
It's truly insane. I don't know, man. Did you also see, this is fucking, now I can't completely verify this, but I saw a report that in some of the Pfizer vaccines, they have found a new type of parasite inside the vaccine that replicates at an alarming rate.
Yeah, is that confirmed? Or is that rumor, or what's the deal with that?
If this was, I saw a news clip.
Okay.
If this was a rumor, this was a pretty well put together rumor. It was pretty fabricated. I don't know. To get him, can I be full? Can I just go full Alex Jones right now?
Yeah.
I feel like there's something in the vaccine, and the people that took it, I think they're just waiting to push a button and do something that's going to cause a lot of people to die. In my opinion, I don't know. Something's brewing, man. Something's sketchy going on worldwide.
Yeah. Still. I mean, it's the last 2 years, right? It's, I think a lot of it comes down to the money and control. That's really all it comes down to. And the reason why money comes into play with it is because that is a form of control and power. right? Among, how the world operates. So, yeah, I forgot what the guy's name was or the channel exactly, but I was watching this ex-CIA spy, who we know people who are ex-CIA in our personal network, but also, they're just normal people who are, really tuned into certain things. But even he said, the next 2 years, you're probably going to see some stuff, come out geopolitically, globally. That's going to be really interesting. Jesus Christ, bro. What the fuck was that?
Sorry. It was the file. It was the. I don't, is this guy legit StuPeters.tv or is he like another?
Who's that guy?
This is the guy who's talking about the parasites are found in the vaccine.
Oh, I've never heard of him.
Stu Peters. Am I gonna get? I don't want to get banned off of YouTube for playing this. But yeah. I don't know. He's legit, says Jared Hidden. Jared's smart.
Yeah, Jared's a good, really smart guy.
You want to see a clip of this?
Yeah, let's roll. We're here for some entertainment, right?
I'm always watching this fucking show anyway. So let me see. Share some audio. This is what I've got. So here. This is what I've seen. This is on BitChute.
Number of Pfizer vials. These parasites. The interesting thing is, too, they found the like a.
Okay, hold on.
That was better. Just make sure our channels stay up.
Yeah, I don't know. That's I'm worried. I don't know if this is gonna get. I don't know if we're gonna get bamboozled.
It's possible.
It's on BitChute. Eggs hatching by the millions. Here we go.
Information was coming in, and I had already seen a great number of the photos and the videos put out by a group of German parasitologists, if you will. These are specialists in identifying parasites in human blood and in human tissues. And they have found in a number of Pfizer vials these parasites. The interesting thing is, too, they have found the like a self-assembling. This is why I think it's a hybrid of something part animal and part technical. They end up assembling themselves in such a way, or the material does, such that the eggs are spewed out, and then those eggs develop rapidly, within hours, by the way, into full-length parasites. They did not specify. It was interpreted from German. They did not specify what species, what type. They couldn't really recognize that. But these experts were able to identify by a 40,000 magnification a GI tract, a tail in the fully formed parasites, and a sex organ section where they are once they're released, or once they're full blown developed, they start to spew out more and more egg sacs. It's really gross. I want to show you this first picture here that we have. It kind of looks like visually like two peas in a pod. What this is from a fight.
So this is what I don't know if this is legit or not, but
I mean, I don't know. I've never seen that guy's channel. That chick, I'm not quite sure. Like, she's what?
Focus on crypto.
Doctor from where? Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing, right? So there's a thing where in crypto, right? Mm-hmm. There is more and more so this connection with what's happening globally, not in terms of less necessarily like medical stuff, but just in terms of, like you said, there's something that you kind of feel, right? Mm-hmm. Starting from the plank of the sovereign individual, in terms of governments are getting so ridiculous in a lot of their decrees and a lot of their regulations, which we'll talk about some of that today as it relates to crypto. There's some breaking news on that. But the governments are getting so ridiculous in numerous ways that I think it is sometimes important to at least be open-minded enough to take in a variety of ideas and then discern which one you believe to be the most correct, right? I think that's what we're lacking in American and also world discussion these days, is a lot of people, they don't want to talk about these things, which I understand. But, hey, crypto more and more so here in the next 5 years is going to become very, very political in terms of geopolitics in regards to money. It already is here today with Biden's executive order. And it's just something that you're not going to be able to separate from the macro news as well. So
Right. Looking at everything we're seeing here is pretty wild, man.
It is.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Disinformation and propaganda abounds on every side that is going on right now. So people really need to use this to discern those things, and it is confusing even for really intelligent people.
I do just feel like we're at critical mass for too many idiots on the planet, and I think
That's not wrong. I mean, that's just numbers in fact of population, right? And yeah, there's a bell curve on that, I guess.
Right. And so looking at this situation here, I don't know, just everything just since 2020 the world has not been at peace. There's like
it's been completely disrupted.
Yeah, and I've talked about it yesterday on my show, like, the two countries leading the narrative right now are China and now Russia.
Yep.
Right. And so looking at what's happening, China controlled the narrative for the last 2 years. Now Russia has taken, like, look at the average person. Nobody cares about Corona anymore.
Yeah. Even the people who are staunchly for, vaccines were like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like that. And it's just like, yeah, it's because, your tolerance for bullshit has faded.
In January, they forced me into fucking quarantine for 6 days in Tokyo. Remember that? When I came in and they tested positive, I had no symptoms, nothing. And they forced me to go into this fucking gulag, quite frankly. And they're like, this is serious. This isn't like, we can't have any outbreaks, blah, blah, blah. Now it's March. Nobody cares. Like, nobody cares about Corona anymore.
Yeah. And yet it was just earlier this week, I rewatched our interview with John McAfee. Need a little McAfee in my life. And I was just like, man, there's like, and that was at the very onset of the entire thing, right? Mm-hmm. And there was just so many truths he was spitting there. Obviously, he's very entertaining, and had the jitters, as he said before he went on when he tweeted out that he was coming on the show. He's like, might have had a few before he jumped on the show. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's one guy who is completely unfiltered and paid the highest price for it.
Yeah, man, it's pretty. I don't know. It's a weird state of affairs we're in, and I don't know. I just like. I feel like something big's coming.
Yeah, and I think if you kind of go back to the sovereign individual with that, instead of trying to predict what it is, because we will not necessarily know, or it might reveal itself slowly over time. I mean, one thing that they say, right, is the role of the nation state in a digital or information age is largely unnecessary compared to what it was in the industrial age, when we were focused on industry. And I think, in our education system, everybody was taught in an industrial based system, right, with bells, desks, all this stuff. Versus, I mean, I wish I would have went to the University of YouTube instead of actual university, right? For some things. And, I just think even kids today, like, unless they have like programming in their curriculum or something, they even kids that are in school today are not getting prepared properly for the digital age. Like, we're the first generation of it, and we were barely prepared. We had typing classes, played Oregon Trail on those green computer screens.
I feel like this guy have been shit talking us before. The Croatian thing reminds me. The Chinese and Russian economies on the verge of collapse. Charlie, which economy is not on the verge of collapse right now?
Russia is pretty fucking one of the worst ones of them, yeah. But
globally speaking, which economy is not on the verge of collapse?
The American economy is, like, a lot of people will say, oh, it's strong for X, Y, and Z reason, which is true in the short term, but it is built like a house of cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
That is the top economy. And I think one of the arguments that we had, I think it was on the first episode of Moon Gang, was, well, the United States is just, the best house in a bad neighborhood, so it's not going to get affected as much. And I'm like, there are some little inklings here in terms of war, inflation, stuff like this, economically hitting other countries, that it doesn't necessarily, it's not exactly the same thing as the Weimar Republic in Germany, but it definitely has a few rhythms or rhymes that are close or becoming closer, which is something to pay attention to. And I discussed this on my show yesterday too. It's kind of funny that we talked about different angles on a similar subject on the same day without without talking to each other about it. But yeah, I do think people need to be aware of why they should be in control of their own money, because with governments around the world basically having economies that aren't stable, and then also banning people from using their own money, and then creating central bank digital currencies in order to control your money even more. I mean, it's like a slow and creeping. It's the same thing as like national security when it comes to airport security, right?
Mm-hmm.
First they were like, oh, don't worry, we just want you to take off your shoes, it's all good. Eventually they're doing full on body scans and grabbing people in back rooms and taking out the rubber gloves. It's just like, damn, like really? And they're doing this to US citizens, coming back from international and stuff like this. And like, it's crazy. And that happened from 2001 till 2021. So it's a 20-year period, but a devolution basically.
Yeah, man. It's I don't know.
So I think the same thing's happening financially, government wise, all those things over the next 20, 50 years.
Yeah, man. It's I don't know. I just either I'm wrong, which I always like to start off with, or I don't know. I feel like something's a brewing. I just do. I don't know. My spider senses are tingling. I just feel. I don't know.
know. What the guy who was the ex-CIA spy, quote unquote spy, but you just call him ex-CIA guy, he was saying in 2023 you'll see Russia invade another country close to its borders, most likely, and then in 2024 you'll see China invade Taiwan, basically. Which, I mean, that's not great for Tokyo. Not necessarily that Tokyo would be right in the crosshairs, but military bases are right outside of the city from the United States and stuff like that. So not great.
Hopefully the United States can send more transgender soldiers out here to save us. Really looking forward to that.
Hey, you can enlist, bro.
I am. Just cut my dick off and get me ready to roll. Throw that dick away. But anyways, yeah. So I guess getting back to cryptocurrency, but this is all tied together. I really like what I'm looking at everything, right? Is that it just seems like government instability is just at an all-time high.
Yep. And that book predicted it in 1997.
Yeah, I know. That's one thing. And Japan is raising more taxes and raising more bullshit. In Dubai, they pretty much is like almost no tax on anything.
Yeah. It's for right now, right?
Yeah, right.
So I mean, that's how they attracted so much money to build the city to where it is today. I think there is actually an interesting little thought that I had on that before we get into crypto. Obviously, well, this is partially due to crypto because a lot of people in crypto are moving to Dubai for that particular reason. But it does feel like they have these kind of honeypots of different pockets in the world right now where taxes are good for people who want to maybe give up their U.S. citizenship and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right. And I ultimately, I think those people will get ensnared by some sort of tax, but eventually once you got kind of like enough things happening globally, they're going to kind of try to close those things off and then kind of like lock people into different places. But the other thing the sovereign individual did say was because of digital currencies, which they predicted in 1997. And they said in chapter 7 there, you'll get to it once you get to that part of the book. I think it's right midway through. They said it will be encrypted. Digital currency will be encrypted with a public and private key, which is exactly what Bitcoin is. So that was 12 years before Bitcoin even existed that they described that whole process. And of course, there were some writings on digital currencies, but not with a public and private encrypted key in that sense. Before that time, there was just some inklings of it before. But anyways, the book does say basically, and it's not gospel, right? Like anything can change, but it is very interesting to think these things. They did say people will, because tax will get so ridiculous in a lot of places, people will basically start refusing to pay it. And the government won't have much recourse when the majority of people are doing that. So civil disobedience at its best. And, another Boston Tea Party coming in 2030. I don't know, but hey, you never know.
Have you seen all of these like things on Twitter, like of all these people, like the media is setting up like these things to make the war in Ukraine look way worse than it actually is, with all like video proof?
I haven't seen that.
Oh man,
I personally like I'll take bullet points on what's happening in that part of the media, but part of me, like, I don't like that much negativity
yeah,
in
for
my
sure,
brain on the daily basis.
for
Like,
sure,
it
for
is
sure.
it is kind of like I'll like, okay, I want to know what's going on, but like at the same time, like,
Don't
I
let
think
it
a lot of
get you.
people, yeah, exactly, don't let it get to you. And I think a lot of people are kind of marinating in each new political crisis with what happened with COVID, what happened with the war, what's happened, like people are, it's the puppet strings of the media wanting people to freak out, essentially not live their lives like normal. So, yeah. Anyways,
I just put the link in the chat for anybody who wants to check it out, by Les Luther. So let's take a look at Bitcoin's charts, and then shout out to Bweezy Bird, $4.99 super chat. Can't wait for the normies to invest in Biden's quote digital coin and quote while we all become rich. All right, Charlie. You're the
invest forced into yeah, but
there you go. But yeah, go ahead, pull up that chart. Let's talk about what's going on with Bitcoin.
Cool.
You got
And
it,
yeah, I'll try to keep the bias so we can have a proper bull bear conversation here today. I'll keep the bias out of here, but
I'm just going to be completely emotional.
So I just wanted to show this one. I think wanted to give at least one meme for today before we jump
get them all.
into the chart.
Get them all, Charlie. Go for it.
Number one trader in the world here, Altcoin Gordon, right? Tweeted this out here just a couple days ago. But when I left my job in 2020 to go full time in crypto, my boss laughed at me. Now 2 years later, when I turned up to ask for my job back, he laughed at me again.
Shout out to Zuzu for life.
But yeah, in all seriousness, nice bull candle here on the daily for Bitcoin, going from basically 38,800 to currently 42,000. So nice $3,000 or $4,000 move here on Bitcoin, which it's always fun to say that, right? In terms of the dollar amounts, because remember when we started this show, the Tokyo Crypto Show in February 2019, Bitcoin was worth $3,500. So today's candle move is basically a bigger price rise than Bitcoin's entire history before we started the show. So that's something, to keep in perspective as well. But obviously the way to truly look at the growth here is in percentages. We have a 9% raise on today. Obviously we had how many X's from when Bitcoin was $2 to, $3,000, but I think people, the normies get kind of caught up in the dollar values. But anyways, we broke this downtrend here, and after we hit a cycle low in late January. And the most important thing to note here is that we are basically just crabbing around in a contracting pattern, meaning we're getting lower highs ever so slightly here on Bitcoin, more extreme on Ethereum. If you go over and take a look at Ethereum, right, much more extreme with the lower highs. But also at the same time, we did break the downtrend, so we are also getting higher lows so far in this cycle. So the main thing to watch for here over the next 2 weeks, I think the next 2 weeks we will basically see this cycle finish, and we'll know where we're going much more clearly, or much more clearly than now by then. But we had a high here on day 17 of the 60-day cycle. If you do have that high before day 30, right, that is not exceeded after day 30 of a 60-day cycle, that is quote unquote bearish. We saw that here, right? And we see another one here. So for a lot of people, they expected that to basically go down. One thing that is interesting to note here as well is we have this kind of death cross, is what people call it, when basically, we had that here where you had the 50 and the 200 crossing. That tends to precede a low, right? Where we had the low very soon after that. We had the same thing here, and not very far after that, within 30 days, we saw the low there as well. But the actual low was just days afterwards. So a lot of people are bearish on this, but actually that is a little bit of a sign sometimes, not always, of a capitulation event. So that's nice to see. that's over with essentially. So we're making progress, right? But after day 30, we have not made a new high. This is just barely below the previous high. And day 60 is not until we get over here to March 25th. Now, I've been telling everybody on my channel to pay attention come March 10th, because from March 10th to March 25th, that's the time where we're going to see the cycle low come in. Most likely, just that's by Bitcoin's history, 80% of the cycle lows come within that time period. And when you do have a cycle high that's before day 30, that is quote unquote bearish, usually you see that cycle low a little bit shorter than 60 days. So like we had the last one here with a 23-day high at 51 days. So I would expect, if we had a shorter cycle low, the shortest one we would have is roughly around day 45. We did technically see this one here on day 42, which would be a little bit early. But if we did start breaking past 46K, I would say that could be the cycle low. And if that is the case, where we have a cycle that is bearish, and we have a high, lower high, or sorry, low, lower low, or sorry, higher low, higher low, right? If we see that pattern, we've only seen, I can go back and discuss this. I don't know if you want me to discuss the bull case now, but essentially we've only seen that pattern play out in this bull market since 2019, a couple other times, and not very, I think like a handful of times in Bitcoin's history. In the last 2 or 3 times that we've seen that, it's been bullish, basically, where the cycle wants Bitcoin's price to go lower. Bitcoin's price can't go lower because there's more buyers than sellers. And then you get the extremely shortened cycle, and then you just get price ripping to the upside. So in order for that to play out, Bitcoin would have to break above 46K and try to head up from there. So that's the bull situation right now that we're looking for. But more likely is that we see, if you kind of pull across the trend line here, right, we see some sort of rejection here around that 100-day moving average, right? And then we basically come down from here, right? And then where would the cycle low come in? Essentially, that would come in somewhere between, like I said, day 45, which is at March 10th. That would be the earliest, to the latest, not the latest, but more likely the latest, around March 25th. Yeah, I saw that coming as well, but I don't accept this. I do not accept this, but I appreciate the comment. But then you do see this contracting phase here, because you do see higher lows. So we basically got more chop here to go, in my opinion, based on where we're going. Now, here's the bear case, right? So I will give you a bear case before we get into the debate, and I can show a lot more statistics, all this stuff, right? But here's the bear case. If we go and let's pull out to the weekly chart here. Right, the bear case on this contracting price trend essentially is that we have this type of pattern right now, which would be we have a lot of 3-wave structures. You could do this in an XYZ or ABC, depending on how you want to look at it. Basically, you'd have an A here, a B here, and a C here. That would be technically by Elliott wave standards. What you have to do with that is you have to go here to like a W. You'd have a W, right? Then you'd have an X, which is this move up here. And you'd have a Y, which would be a price going lower. So we have basically a move here to the downside, contracting triangle here for the X, right? And then you have Y further down. Now, this pattern in terms of the WXY doesn't tend to have a triangle in the middle of it usually, but it is possible. And if you look at it on a short-term scale, this is just for the people who are chart fans out here, we do have this crabbing 3-wave structure, which if you look at that in the sense of this triangle, and let's say for now, I would delete a couple of these other lines to make it a little cleaner. You basically, in this structure, right, you tend to have like an A wave here, a B wave here, C wave here, D wave here, E wave, and then you get a failure to launch and the price starts crashing down. And I would say if that pattern did play out, that would bring it to maybe somewhere between $26,000 to $28,000. Generally speaking, yeah, exactly, into the early part of probably around tax season. And you do see this price here from 33,000 up to 40, let's say 46. So it's a $13,000 difference from where it breaks down right? You could take $13,000 from, let's say, this part of the trend line here at 37. That could see the price as far down as $24,000 for Bitcoin within April, right? And then that would probably bleed into May actually before then a recovery from that. But macro wise, that would actually, the sooner we go down and break down, the sooner we can come back up. But obviously, in terms of the altcoins, that would not be good. So that would screw a lot of people with the altcoins. So those are the two basic scenarios that we kind of see playing out here. But really, all you needed to know is if if you're a person who doesn't like to think, if we break above 46,000, that is highly positive for the bull case. If we break below, I would say this previous cycle low of 33,000, that is very positive for the bear case. Everything in between there is just chop. So that's all you really need to know.
All right. Well, I think we should get into the root of the conversation here.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right. So
emotional damage.
Bear market is me.
Wish we had that meme.
Bear and bull market is Charlie. So Charlie still thinks we're in a bull market. I think we're entering a bear market. So
I will put one caveat on this.
You better say grass.
I think we are in a corrective phase of a bull market. Doesn't mean things can't get worse from here. I could, basically the as long as the only thing that would prove me wrong that we're not in a corrective phase of a bull market would be if we went below $14,000. So technically we could go down to $24,000, $26,000, $28,000 and still be bullish in the trend count. We're just in a counter trend to a larger bull market. So, but
if that goes to 14,000, how many will you buy?
As many as I fucking can, bro.
Good answer.
If it goes to zero, I'm buying it
all. Okay, so here's my rationale, and mine's not going to be long drawn. Mine is just where I'm coming from. As
you're not going to use logic, it just goes straight to the emotion. I get you.
Just whip out the Midol, okay? So I see the same pattern of 2017, 2018. So 2017 in December, Bitcoin shit the bed, right? And then 2018, we had a pretty nice altcoin pump. And the Phantom Network had an amazing altcoin pump up in January. Spell was doing good. T-Shares is doing good. The whole Phantom Network was doing good, right? Yield was going. Boo hit almost $50. I think Boo did hit $50. And that happened. Then the scandals start. Danielle from Spell Token, he starts rugging. Spell loses so much money. Investors lose money. The price crashes down, right? It's just all chaos. Next thing you know it, Andre the other day says he's pulling out of Phantom. There's no more money coming into the market. There's no more new money, new blood coming into the market. The only thing we're having with these pumps and stuff, they all seem to be manipulation pumps. And that being said, it doesn't seem like we're just seem to be smoking hopium nonstop, looking for things to get better, and it's not. Now, obviously, Corona's over.
Things aren't getting worse than they were last summer. I'll say that.
Well, I mean, like I told you, this is not based in logic. This is based in
no, I know. I just we got a debate here, right? So I want to wait and make sure you get the chance to make your whole point, but I just I need to add in that point. Right.
Listen,
there,
my argument is
people are freaking out worse than they were they're freaking out worse now than they were in July when prices were lower, which always kind of just baffles my mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a dirty, stinking normie, and I can only think 10 minutes ahead of me and 10 minutes behind me.
This is true. You forgot what happened last summer.
That's the maximum threshold. So I am looking at everything, and to top it off, there's rumor of crypto news, right, that are going to come out. Japan just said everybody's going to KYC in Japan no matter what, and you need to register outboard addresses as well. Do you know that? Did you
say that again?
So from Bitflyer, etc., over here now, you have to register the address to where it's going.
Yep.
which you can totally still launder that. Not that you ever should do that, but yeah, these governments are retarded. And there's no new money, and then now we got war talk plus inflation talk. Inflation is insane. We're gonna see probably $9 gas in California soon. It's already at $6 and change. The prices of gas are worse than I Am Legend, the movie. Remember the movie I Am Legend? The prices of gas now are worse. You got parasites and Pfizer. I'm just gonna throw that out as well. And you know, but we got transgenders in the military, so that's good. That's one bull outlook for crypto. More transgenders in the military. But other than that, I just don't. I feel like we are gonna slosh away until, I don't know, right before the halving 2024. But I just don't see it making any sense for me right here now. And then, you have things like T shares crashing down from 24,000 to it's like 4,800. Phantom. Everybody's so bullish on Phantom, and the guy fucking rugged solidly.
Well, one of their 40 developers that are focused on the project. Yes.
Right. And they just launched solidly, and they're already going to close. That's
Andre did, not the Phantom Foundation.
Right. Which is also super rug pull. Right. And so, yeah, and Brent is in the house. He says it's $4 gas in Texas. I remember when it was $4 gas in 2008. Those were tough times, man. During the Obama administration, that shit was tough, bro. When 2008, when that idiot came in the office, and all these people were bitching and moaning about Trump, and he was the one talking about being reliant on Russian gas and shit. And now look what's happening: gas prices through the roof. Food prices through the roof. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, there's literally a 75% chance that if you're an American watching this right now, you are overweight and or obese. So you could use a little forced diet via inflation. However, it's making it harder for everybody. And I don't see any extra money pumping into the market. To be quite frank, I think that the reason we had that bull run or whatever is because the market just got flooded with cash from governments printing nonstop during Corona.
You want me to pull up the the inflation basically the chart that includes the more up to date money supply?
I'm ready to look dumb. I want to be wrong, Charlie.
I know you do. I'm not trying to be an asshole.
I want to be wrong. I am desperate to be wrong. Okay. I am purposely putting forward a shitty argument for you to destroy in order.
Well, there's good points to it. I agree with some of those points.
No. This is the one time in my life where I want to fucking lose. But anyways, yeah. That's my side. 1 in the chat if you agree with me, 2 if you disagree. 30 seconds on the clock. Let's see what the audience has to say. 1 if you agree with me, 2 if you disagree. Let's see what we got. We got something here. Boglin's Razor says, finish him, Charlie. Knock me out. We got a 2, a 2, a 2, 1.5, 2, 3, 2, half, 2. Surprising. Wow.
Don't call them the Moon Gang for nothing.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. 2. Nigel got me at the 1. So it looks like the majority of the audience has voted against me and what I have said, which I'm okay with. Believe you me.
I think P. Willie with his McDonald's hat has the best math going right
Look at
there.
this. Look at your own buddy's a traitor. Look at this. Fucking Judas.
Hey, man. He just wants more dip so he can be another dip buyer of the year again.
Cody Mouse is 1.5. He's torn between us. But yeah, okay. Billy says whatever Miguel says. I'll go. Miguel is like Uber Bull for life, dude. He is the Mexican Uber Bull. That was my thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say that. So here, I'll give some credence to some of your points. I would say, the Andre thing did surprise the shit out of Miguel, right? I mean, surprised the shit out of everybody in crypto. So in regards to that event, I would say in the short term, in the day that it was happening, it's definitely an event that makes you, reassess things. And I do think reassessment is massively important. You always want to look at the other side of the argument to make sure, that you're not just fooling yourself. So I would say, there's some validity in some of those things. But in terms of your last point that you made regarding,
wait, we had to stop show. Casey says, I really just need racism to be eliminated. That is the answer. Go ahead.
All right. So in regards to, so here's the Bitcoin chart, right? Let's go to a clean Bitcoin chart on the weekly. And I would say your last point about inflation running rampant over the last 2 years obviously is correct. More money supply and being put into the market through quantitative easing as well. So let's take off, this bull induced, whatever you want to call it. So basically, the one thing that has happened that a lot of people were like, that's kind of curious, right? Is Bitcoin had a previous all-time high here in 2017 of $20,000 or 19,666, the mark of the beast, right? So Bitcoin's price fell massively in the bear market after that. It's only rallies, right, in this bear trend were, in terms of increase, were of 100% here, so double, right? And then a diminishing 58%, right? And 56%. So comparatively to, obviously, this move here of much, much more, 275%, right? So that was just kind of like a ball just dropping, hitting the floor, losing momentum, and then rolling off the edge of a cliff, right? So that was the last bear market. But anyways, regarding in terms of, and this was not a bear market, I will tell you that much right here, all right? And I'll give you a reason why, or a couple of reasons as to why. But so what you have, and I'm talking about definitions in crypto, not people's feelings, right? And so what you had here was a $20,000 high, roughly speaking. We broke through that here in December of 2020, right? And we never came back and tested it. A lot of the times when you break a previous all-time high, you come back and you test it before them launching, right? We did not come back and test it. We came back and tested much, much higher at 30,000, which the first time we came down here to 30,000 was very, was very worrisome, right? But we held up there, and now we're holding up higher, getting squeezed here on the weekly. You can see between that 100-day moving average and the 100-week moving average and 50-week moving average. So anyways, yeah, we didn't come back and test that. And that could be argued that the reason why we didn't come back and test there is because there's more money. No, most of the money out there that has been quote unquote printed over the last couple of years, right? Basically inflated Bitcoin's price much higher. Now, if you come over to this chart, right, and we take a quick look here, a little bit different looking, but we take a look at this here, and basically what you can see here, right, is we're taking the W2 money supply into account. And so this is basically, you don't get a number in terms of price, but you get levels. And in terms of if you were to take inflation into, or not inflation, sorry, if you were to take the money printing, the extra money supply into account, right, you would have seen Bitcoin come back and test the previous all-time highs here twice, right, back in last summer. So that is interesting. But in terms of the highs, right, this high here was still higher than this high here, which is the same on the dollar chart, right? So this actually, if you do argue on this chart, this chart actually looks pretty healthy. So when you do take that extra money supply into account, it did have an effect, but not a overly significant effect to say that the only reason why this went up was because so much money was being printed. That was a portion of it, but not the only reason. Basically, if you go and take a look here, right, that was an increase from the Corona crash to here, but obviously you want to take the full bull market into effect. So let's go from all the way at the bottom here. It's about a 1,344% increase. In terms of this one, drum roll, please, right? We'll go to the all-time high. This was a 2,100% increase. So there was, a significant increase, but it's not the only reason. right? So that's, actual data for that. The last thing I'll say here is on both of these charts, the pattern is basically there, where we had, again, going back to Elliott wave, right? And why is this not a bear market? We have a wave 1 here, a wave 2 here, a wave 3 here, and we're forming this wave 4. And this is why I say if we do go down to, let's say, $20,000, we will still technically be in a bull market because wave 4 will be above wave 1. Where this becomes invalidated is if wave 4 breaks and goes across wave 1. So,
which is what price we're looking for?
$14,000 essentially.
Hmm.
So that basically, it's not going to make the altcoins feel any better. That's for damn sure.
Nothing feels good right now, Charlie.
But I don't see that scenario playing out. I do see Bitcoin holding up here in the mid to high 20Ks most likely. But anyways, if it did break below here, but we do so far see the bulls winning in this current low. So we got about 2 more weeks here where we will really see what's going on. And if we do get price action back above this 50-week moving average, which is $46,500, so almost about $47,000, right? Then we'll have better price action. Not saying we'll go to all-time highs. I do think we will get rejected around that $55,000 to $65,000 area. Personally, we'll come down one more time, and then we will commence this wave 5 with a minimum target of $90,000 to $100,000 minimum target, right? And so this is why, I mean, the wave 2 here was extreme. Obviously, it wasn't quite as extreme before Corona, but it was still extreme. Now, this is technically a counter trend to the main bull trend. Why do I say that? Because clearly we're in an uptrend. When in doubt, zoom out. So we have.
Yeah, but people on Twitter make fun of you for saying when in doubt, zoom out. So you've got to be wrong.
Yeah, that's true. So I must be completely wrong. But anyways, yeah, you have a trend, right? And macro wise, we are in an uptrend. It's just a matter of these counter trends. So counter trend to a bull trend. That's why I say it in that way. The counter trend can be still pretty brutal. Now, in terms of Bitcoin, so if you're holding Bitcoin, you're holding Ethereum, right? Long term, you're going to do just fine. But in terms of this decrease, right? Bitcoin, for all its true bear markets, right, has decreased more than 75% in a bear market, right? So for all of Bitcoin's previous true bear markets, they have dipped more than 75%. Here, the Corona crash, even with this black swan event, did not go below 75%. You can see here, 2017, the $20,000 high to $3,100 low was an 84% correction and did not have that many significant bounces in here. And 2019 did not have that many significant bounces either, the second half. But here, so far, from the all-time high down to the current low, it's a 52% decrease. And then the previous high to this low here was about a 55% decrease, right? So the last 2 decreases have not been, in Bitcoin terms, a bear market. In stock market terms, a 20% correction is a bear market, but that's just because the gains are also less. So that's what I mean by the definition there. So at the end of the day, when we do take a look at the altcoins, right, they are hurting, right? So right here we have this trend line here for Bitcoin dominance. If Bitcoin does kind of roar up here in dominance to this previous area of like 50%, the altcoins are going to hurt. The Bitcoin price is likely to go down, right? And so we do want to see this trend line being respected. So I would say this is one that I see a lot of people not talking about. That is actually quite important. So this week we are currently wicking above there, and we had a wick above there previously in October. So we'll see where we ended the week. Last week, if we zoom in here, we hit that line, but then we got rejected from it. So Bitcoin is flirting right now, both in terms of time and price. It is flirting with that downside. So I will say, you do have to take these things into account. But hey, what do I know?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty dumb, and it was hard to understand some of that. I'm also a little sleepy. It's midnight, and I had a long day.
Yeah,
a very emotionally and physically draining day. It was long, but that being said, I mean, it does make sense, and I'll blatantly tell the audience this: I just blindly trust Charlie, which you probably shouldn't do, like, because we always say do your own research, but I trust Charlie enough, and he's been more right than he's ever been wrong. And I know Charlie in real life, and Charlie is an actual genius when it comes to this stuff. So I think that I just think right now, really, the guys that are involved in Bitcoin are really the ones that are really kind of understand it. Because as I just started reading The Sovereign Individual, and now, mind you, I'm only an hour and 40 minutes in, but it just makes a clear case for why this is going to be the future, no matter what. Because, I mean, looking at the United States government, right, since after World War II, the United States government's legacy has been failure. Okay. Korean War, failure. Vietnam, massive failure. Iraq in the 80s, what it was, Operation Enduring Freedom, or I forget. I think that was
It
90s.
wasn't Desert Storm in
Desert
1991.
Storm in the 80s. Desert Storm in the 80s.
91.
Then there you go. But we were in there in the 80s as well. We were in there in the 80s.
Yeah, we had some involvement, but I think it was mainly Russia invading. What was it? Afghanistan at the time. I was barely a wee child, so I don't remember.
Right. So we got that going on, and then we have, Iraq in the early 90s, and then Operation Enduring Freedom, and then September 11th, right? And then we were in there forever, and then we just failed our way out of Afghanistan. Not to mention, while we were failing abroad, we were also failing at home, failing the war on drugs, failing the war on marijuana, failing the war on piracy. They still can't shut the Pirate Bay. They still can't shut the Pirate Bay down, right?
Yeah.
And so when you got all these things, right?
Can't shut crypto down.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Now we have cryptocurrency. The only thing that now I'm just gonna go ahead and preemptively push this. Alex Jones says there's a massive cyber attack coming, and I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. I swear to God, I believe it. There's some kind, did you know what happened in Toyota here?
Yeah, I heard about in terms of they got hacked and they couldn't produce cars for maybe a week or so.
Every factory in Japan, every Toyota factory got hacked. You know who
Nagoya, absolutely. The blood of Nagoya is Toyota.
Dude, you know who did that. We both know who did that.
Oh,
shit. Russia. It wasn't Russia.
Chugoku Jinwa.
Moshinoku Jinjaneka. Yeah, China. And I just don't see anything looking like the government's gonna win. I mean, look at Biden, bro. Biden is a senile old man. Do you see it? They hold him by the hand. They walk him around holding him by the hand.
Yeah, it's I think it during the time that he was running or whatever, Obama actually told him, like, bro, don't do it. You're gonna make yourself look terrible. Like, he was warned against his, people that were basically in his camp even.
Yep, but Orange Man bad, right? Orange Man bad. Because the election was 100% legit. Do you know Joe Biden is the most popular president voted into the White House in U.S. history? He's the most popular president.
There is something that he has said today that might be of important value that could make you a bear or a bull, depending on how you view it. We could talk about that as well. So there was an executive order here today on digital currency, not only cryptocurrency, but digital currency, right? I can share a couple things here with you. And this is pretty interesting. There's some stuff about this that is known, and there's some stuff about this that is still a little bit of speculation. But Bitcoin surges after accidentally released treasury statement. Right, so we'll talk about this in addition to what Biden said. But first, let's take a look at the Biden thing, right? So before the last couple of days, we had news articles like this, which is Biden reportedly set to order multi-agency study push on crypto and central bank digital currencies, right? And then the White House today did actually come out with an actual briefing here, on digital assets. So I'll throw this link in the chat for you guys so you have this. Like, I know, despite all of the conspiracy theory and just discussion stuff out here today, you might be like, "Is this even real?" Like, this headline here is in fact real. Like, tell us if you were to tell us in 2019 or 2018 or 2017 that you would be getting something like this on digital assets, like, we probably would have believed it, but we would have been like, "Man, like, that is wild." I won't read the whole thing. I'll just read some of the bullet points here, but. President Biden is to sign an executive order on ensuring responsible innovation in digital assets. So this is actually happening. This was released here on March 9th, 2022. This is here, right? So I'll read the first paragraph and then I'll read a couple of these bullet points just so you guys understand what's in here. And then you guys can go and read the rest. And then we'll take a look at this Treasury statement that apparently pumped the market today, right? If you look at it in terms of news, which is a very normie mindset, and I'll discuss why that is very briefly. Digital assets, including cryptocurrencies, have seen explosive growth in recent years, surpassing a $3 trillion market cap last November and up from $14 billion just 5 years prior.
Damn.
Surveys suggest that's a lot, right?
Yeah, shit.
I'm bullish on that.
It's a statement.
Surveys suggest that around 16% of adult Americans, approximately 40 million people, have invested in, traded, or used cryptocurrencies. Over 100 countries are exploring or piloting central bank digital currencies, a digital form of country's sovereign currency. So with the rise of cryptocurrencies and U.S. wanting to continue to stay competitive globally, they need to address digital assets as a wider whole. So what are they addressing here? Right. Specifically, the executive order calls to measures to protect U.S. consumers, investors, and businesses. Right.
I'm just looking at the way I'm translating this is how the government's going to fuck things up for everybody. That's just how I'm translating it.
Yes, and that was part of the point of my discussion on my show yesterday. Is because they can see parts of cryptocurrency, aka Bitcoin, Monero, so on and so forth, as workarounds to the traditional financial system, and they just see their grasp of control, slipping away. And so, let's try to control some of this for your safety, right? That's essentially what they're saying here. It is what it is, but it's going to happen regardless. The positive, so that's the negative aspect of it, right? The positive aspect of this is for the normies, right? They will say, well, now we have crypto, protecting you, or we have the regulations of crypto protecting you, so now it's okay to buy, right? If they get that done within the first half of this year, I'm bullish on the second half of this year in terms of like Gigable, right? So we'll see how that goes out. I think it's in 180 days. This basically this look into digital innovations. It'll be about 180 days, so about 6 month investigation, and then after that, they're going to come out with more like solid things in terms of talking about what they want to do with regulation and so on and so forth. So they want to protect you first and foremost against these risky assets, protect the U.S. and global financial stability, and mitigate systemic risks. So this was the main topic of my show yesterday. They want to make sure their house of cards doesn't get folded by a better competing system. So, I understand that. That's, for their own survival. Mitigate the illicit finance and national security risks posed by the illicit use of digital assets. So as we know, right, criminal use of cryptocurrencies specifically is minuscule compared to illicit uses of the traditional financial system, right? I would say JP Morgan probably does more within, if you compared what JP Morgan does for basically negative things to the current financial system versus what all the criminals do within the cryptocurrency ecosystem, I would say JP Morgan is a bigger criminal than the criminals in the
I'm
system.
sorry.
Well, it's 100%.
I'm reading what Jim H wrote. Just like they protected the Native Americans from starvation. Oh my
Yeesh.
god, that's too dark. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's way too dark.
Oh god, Jesus
But
Christ.
anyways, JP Morgan, right? I mean, your laugh actually came at a point in time in terms of that, with JP Morgan being one of the biggest criminals. But we could go into that really in depth, but that's not part of the executive order. So
Oh god.
I would say if people want to learn about that, I would say go and watch this TV show on, I think it was Netflix, called Dirty Money, and look up HSBC. And not only, HSBC isn't the one only doing those things. JP Morgan has their hands in that pot too. Anyways, moving on. Promote U.S. leadership in technology and economic competitiveness to reinforce U.S. leadership in the global financial system. So maintain our sovereign currency and leadership of that. Promote equitable, safe access to safe and affordable financial services. Cool, right? And this is the Secretary of the Treasury working with all relevant agencies will produce a report on the future of money and payment systems, which we'll take a look at here, what their comment is on that in a second. Support technological advances and ensure responsible development and use of digital assets. So they do not want to ban digital assets. If they were going to ban cryptocurrency like China, right, they would say they're not even going to look into it. They just say ban, right? And so this is a positive way to look at it. Explore a U.S. central bank digital currency. So they're also going to be looking at that, which you can look at that as, I think if you go and listen to what Representative Tom Emmers of Minnesota has to say, he wants to make sure that a central bank digital currency, or at least he says he wants to make sure that a central bank digital currency does perform like cash, where you still do hold your privacy, versus less like a Chinese central bank digital currency, which the digital yuan is going to basically be like Big Brother watching and censoring your transactions.
Doubtful. The government's too greedy. I highly doubt
right. That. Well, it also might just be, political speak to make sure that people, it's kind of like the frog in boiling water. The people don't give too much of an outcry while they're creating these rules, right?
Is there any literature there on like adding transgenders to more cryptocurrency, or like?
I think they left that out of this one, thankfully.
Those fucking white racist pigs. Go ahead.
Oh man. Yep. And so then, okay, so let's take a look at that one little part here where they're talking about the Secretary of Treasury working with all relevant agencies to produce a report on future money. So that was, talked about here. Janet Yellen says Biden's crypto executive order supports responsible innovation, right? So they want to innovate crypto, but responsibly. And, Janet Yellen's famous for, basically shit talking Bitcoin for many, many years. But, right, then we're going over to this report, which has accidentally been released by the Treasury, which has been, it's neutral to positive, right? And so we see this article here where Bitcoin's price surges. And if we go over to the actual report, oh, look, access denied. We cannot see this because it was accidentally released, right? But yay, the Wayback Machine gives it to us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we can actually read this. I use a time machine to go back because we're in the future here in Tokyo, right? Like coming to you live from the future. So this one's short enough. We can read the whole thing. I think it's, there's a lot of fluff obviously in these, but what we're looking for is bearish sentiment in these, right? They're going to, pro Bitcoin to the extreme. That's what we don't want to see, right? But what do we see? So statement by the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, on President Biden's executive order on digital assets. What does the government troll have to say? U.S. Secretary of Treasury Janet Yellen released the following statement on President Biden's executive order on digital assets. President Biden's historic executive order calls for a coordinated and comprehensive approach to digital asset policy. This approach will support reasonable innovation that could result in substantial benefits for the nation, consumers, and businesses. Positive thus far. It will also address risks related to illicit finance, protecting consumers and investors, and preventing threats to the financial system and broader economy. So is that going to be negative? That's only what we can speculate for cryptocurrency. I mean, that we can only speculate how they will, take that on based on the executive order we just read. Under the executive order, Treasury will partner with interagency colleagues to produce a report on the future of money and payment systems. We'll also convene the Financial Stability Oversight Council to evaluate the potential financial stability risks of digital assets and assess whether appropriate safeguards are in
Yikes.
place.
Oversight council, we don't need it.
More KYC. Exactly. It's just going to be like, show us, your passport, your a-hole, date.
There's definitely gonna be one transgender on that council for sure.
And because, yep, I know, maybe she's it. I don't know.
Well, do not assume their gender. How dare you?
And because the questions raised by digital assets often have important cross-border dimensions, we'll work with our international partners to promote robust standards and a level playing field. The ones that they like. This work will complement ongoing efforts by Treasury. Already, the department has worked with the President's Working Group on Financial Markets, the FDIC, the OCC, to study one particular kind of digital asset, stablecoins, and to make recommendations. So this is going into the central bank digital currency spiel. Under the executive order, Treasury and interagency partners will build upon the recently established national risk assessments, which identify key illicit financial risks associated with digital assets. As we take on this important work, we'll be guided by consumer and investor protection groups, market participants, and other leading experts. Treasury will work to promote a fairer, more inclusive, there you go, and more efficient financial.
God in heaven.
More efficient financial system while building on our ongoing work to counter illicit finance and prevent risks to financial stability and national security. So, just before just taking a look in here, do you see anything massively bullish or bearish?
Retard alert.
I mean, I just see a bunch of morons trying to control something that they can't control. It's like when you ever like remember when like we were kids in elementary school and like the room would just be like a complete mess and the kids would be screaming and fighting, and there was that one kid that would stand on a tree like, all right, everybody calm down, and that kid is just trying to calm everybody down and nobody listens to it, and there's just continued chaos in the room.
Yep,
that's what I'm seeing, and we all hated that kid, and some people pushed him off the chair. But that's exactly what I see. It's like it's too little, too late, and by a bunch of fucking retards. These guys don't know shit when it comes to fucking cryptocurrency at all. The United States government, they don't, because they wouldn't be trying to do this shit if because they would know that it's a moot point. Like they can't control anything.
Well, in my opinion, that's the same thing with what the Federal Reserve is doing by increasing interest rates. It's, just trying to delay the inevitable. I think they want the optics to show that they have an illusion of, or that they have control, but it's really an illusion of control, even within their own financial system that is currently working, which is why they're doing this. They would not be looking into a central bank digital currency that is backed by the blockchain if the current financial system was clearly all hunky-dory and all was good. They wouldn't need to. The only reason why they're looking at these types of things is not only because they're coming onto the scene, but because they are losing control themselves. So if they can't control their own financial system, how are they going to control the new financial system? They will be able to slow down the new financial system in terms of cryptocurrency and digital assets, but they will not be able to stop it.
I mean, the thing is, even if they try to like quote slow it down, right? The bottom line is you're going to try to slow it down just like they tried to slow down the usage of marijuana. But they failed. Like everybody, like marijuana is like water in America. You can get it pretty much anywhere, and it's like the war on drugs. Like, yeah, we're gonna stop the war on drugs. No, you failed, and you wasted billions of dollars in that failed effort. So I just don't. The United States government in itself, the modern day government's legacy is failure. It's at least from what I've seen in the United States. It is nothing but failure. And so I don't see how this is potentially, would it slow down? Here's the deal. Even if it does slow down the growth or whatever of cryptocurrency in America, that growth is just going to shift to another nation because that's the power of the internet.
100%, like $1,000,000%. It's even easier for that to happen now.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
And the one other thing I will say about that information there. So that article that says, oh, Bitcoin's pumping today because of this. I was like, when I read that, I was like, I obviously the same reaction as you, right? They're trying to control what they can't control inevitably. But the other thing that's interesting about that article that we showed before, which is, Bitcoin's pumping because of this, is because a lot of people believe that the news basically causes this price action instead of the news following the price action, right? There's part of, there's an argument to be made that all you need to do is look at the data on the chart. You don't necessarily need to know all the news unless it is a black swan event, something that we didn't expect. So we didn't expect them to come out with anything crazy or we're going to ban Bitcoin. So at the end of the day, is this why Bitcoin's pumping today? I would say it's a very normie take. Personally, I don't think so. We're just crabbing around as we already have been setting out to do here in the last couple of weeks. So, but I just wanted to mention that because I think a lot of people have, they follow the news because they think that it's going to make them informed, whereas the media is clearly not doing its job on that side as much as it should be.
Pulse Chain Poppy says they can't control it and make profits on it, so they want to control it to keep us from becoming wealthy. That is true. It is always a nonstop war to keep poor people poor, and it's just not going to work. It's just really not going to work.
Yeah, they're going to make you figure out the same things that they already figured out. Not the politicians, but the people who've already become wealthy. So they're going to make you jump through all the same hoops that they did to get to the same place, which is kind of ridiculous. And there's a lot of people who, they might learn those things too late. So it is important to kind of, learn about those rule books, even though they suck.
Well, I look forward to eating bugs and owning nothing and being happy about it. That being said, I think that's going to call it for us today here on the Tokyo Crypto Show. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to tune into my channel, this channel right here, Modern Life Dating, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're continuing Modern Women March, where we're just studying the psychological patterns of modern women, their dating history, sexual history, all that stuff. If you want to learn about modern women with science applied to it and real life examples, come on over to my channel. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Charlie will be here doing his daily work on the cryptocurrency markets. The only place you can find a man live streaming 5 days a week, literally going on 2 years straight now. So 3 years straight now, going on 3 years, going on 3 years. So here we are, and we're here for you guys. Bull market, bear market, we're here. Keep your heads up. At the end of the day, when in doubt, zoom out and know that the future is cryptocurrency.